Hello everybody, it's time for another Batman Miniature Game Battle Report 2nd edition on a new table, and also there's been some very strange occurrences on the map as some gigantic pumpkins have appeared. Apparently they've been appearing all over the place, and perhaps they're some precursor to some kind of Halloween. I don't know, I've never heard of it. I don't know about holidays. So anyway, today we're going to be doing 350 rep of the Gotham City Sirens versus Joker, and we're going to go take a look at the crews. So here is the Joker crew being led by the Heath Ledger Joker with Giggles and, oh, what are they called? Chuckles? Chuckles and Giggles, is that what they're called? No, it's Grumpy and Chuckles from the Why So Serious box, also Hobo Clown just because it's cheap and cheerful. 3 out of the 4 of the Blackgate prisoners, so Gustav Gustafsson, High Security Prisoner, and Carlo Grotti, and then also Free Agent Killer Croc. And this is a very gun-heavy crew, so there's not much funding. I think this is 1450, so 50 spare, which is actually the same as the other crew, I think. And in terms of objectives, Joker gas, which comes in sets of 2, Titan container, and ammo. And it's quite a lot of miniatures, but I think the other crew is about the same as well, so let's go take a look at the Sirens. So this is the Gotham City Sirens crew. This crew I don't think has been on this channel, but back when I was just occasionally doing battle reports on my main gaming channel, this particular Gotham City Sirens list had a few tries and it was unbeaten. So it's a pretty effective list, being led by the Gotham City Sirens themselves, but specifically Poison Ivy is the leader. Sidekick Harley Quinn, Free Agent Catwoman, this is the Arkham City one. Then we have 2 of Ivy's plants at the back there, the one that spits and the one that chomps, and they'll be coming into random, well not random, potentially 2 locations each, marked by crystals that we'll use on the field in a second. And then mind-controlled Arkham Guard with the assault rifle and John Diggle, so they have 1 less willpower because they're here against their will. Then we have Ace Chemical Containers, Medical and Riddles for their objectives. So the teams are pretty even. We're going to roll for objective, get everything set up and be back at deployment. So we're going to be playing Scenario 3 Patrol, which is the 12-12 diagonal 12 on either ends. Rolled off and the Gotham City Sirens are down here and Joker is up here. Diversion, so if you have a model that's not your boss and is not KO'd in the enemy deployment, 3 victory points at the end of the game. Noise, 1 victory point to the first player to land a strike, and a strike we count here is a physical punch, so range doesn't count. That's it, usual game length. We don't play any rules here that shorten the game length, so Joker's Chaos Agent doesn't do that part of the rule. But if we just go over here real quick, we can see the Gotham City Sirens are basically deployed up to the line. The ammo and the Titan, which have to be 4 inches apart and 4 inches away from the edge. For Joker's crew it was a bit problematic putting them in here, but also not being able to put them on the roof, so that's just enough. So they're there. There's a sewer grating and whatnot over there. Come over here, most of the Gotham City Sirens are up to 8 inches away from the enemy deployment, so Riddle, Ace Chemicals, Riddle, and the Joker canisters can get placed next to objectives because they do like 2-inch bubbles of damage. So this one's deployed next to that Ace Chemicals, this one's deployed next to that Ace Chemicals, and thanks to Hidden, High Security Henchman is there. And then everyone else, as best they're able, thanks to the building being there, are just up to the line here, essentially, as well. Oh, if you're curious why the Gotham City Sirens didn't take loot, it was just to try and give the enemy crew a chance, because if Catwoman gets the loot, she just runs away and generates 2 points a turn, and you know, it might not need to be going this easy on the Joker crew, because they have a lot of guns, but based on how the previous attempts against this crew have gone. Anyway, it will be Joker's crew taking first activation in Battle Round 1. As an addition, as we get started into Battle Round 1, while Catwoman doesn't have loot to go after just to go a little bit easy on the Joker, the Gotham City Sirens do get the planning the move role that she imparts to Harley and Poison Ivy, giving them a priority choice loot, well, priority objective rather of their choice. So it's very unlikely that they're going to get the Riddles in time, because Riddles are just 3 points to the enemy team for the most part, so they're both wanting priority loot Ace Chemicals, which makes sense. So to get the game started proper, and because both crews do have quite a high model count, we're going to be summarising just quick moves unless anything important happens. So first activation for the Joker was Joker himself. He inspired to give all his henchmen +1 movement counter. He then just moved up a little bit towards the Ace Chemicals and did nothing else. The first activation for the Gotham City Sirens was Catwoman with her amazing movement. So she's gone from here, around the building there, past the pumpkin that's eating a car, and has ended up right there, far away from one of the potential spawn locations for one of the plants which can pop up at the earliest next turn. The next activation for Joker's crew was Carlo Grotti, who's moved up where you can see him. He is illuminated by the light currently, but the cars here are kind of blocking the other team from seeing him. Then for the Gotham City Sirens, Harley Quinn activated, and she basically followed behind Catwoman. Her movement isn't quite as good, but she managed to make it to there, just behind her by about 2 inches. And that takes us back to Joker's crew for another movement. It's going to be a very quick first battle round because everybody is just moving positions. Chuckles activated and has moved up. He's heading towards the objective cluster over there. And then Poison Ivy herself, she has moved up to there, out of range of that lamppost, so she's currently relatively safe even from a one shot from, or a single bullet rather, from Carlo. So it's back over to Joker again, for more of his clowns getting out of this corner down here. High Security Henchman activated next, and his original goal was just to quickly grab that riddle, ideally being 2 inches away from the Joker canister so he doesn't get hurt by his own objective next activation. However, he did anticipate that Catwoman is very fast and so is Harley, so he did have some in attack, so he decided instead he had 3 in movement for an attack because he's ridiculously powerful for being a henchman. So he peeled round the corner into base to base with Catwoman, attacked her. She is defense 5, so she's very hard to hit, but it doesn't matter because 1 knife slash got through. It only did 1 blood to her, but that also gives the 1 bonus victory point for the landing a hit in the scenario, so probably worth it. Back over to the Gotham City Sirens now. So as we cover a couple more activations, I misspoke before when I said that High Security Henchman had 3 in movement for an attack. I meant he had 3 in 3, but he has combo with knife, which put him up to 4. So that's why he had 4 attacks. Anyway, the Arkham Guard with the assault rifle used the 1 Surgrating Travel for the Gotham City Sirens, popped out there, hoping to get first activation next turn I guess, to shoot Carlo. Then for Joker's crew, Hobo Clown just ran as best he could. Remember, he had an extra movement, as all the henchmen did, from Inspire, towards the riddle. Didn't quite make it, but is poised to make it next turn. So although it's the Gotham City Sirens activation next, they have a deficit of 3 models right now thanks to the plants not being on the field, which avails them 3 passes in total, although they can only use 2 in a row, so that was done. So it just resulted in a couple of quick clown moves. Grumpy moved up there, and Gustav Gustafsson has moved up there. So now Diggle has to activate to end the Gotham Sirens at first turn, and then Killer Croc will be ending it for Joker. So the last 2 activations of the turn were very much connected to each other. As you can see, John activated and just blocked the space between the Surgrating and the Titan to stop Killer Croc coming through and being able to be touching it just because of how wide his base is, because it's 2-inch wide base. So he blocked it, but then obviously Killer Croc, he only spends 1 movement counter to go through a sewer, and once per game he can go through a sewer without ending his activation. He made it this turn. He had 5 attacks. He unleashed them into John and did 3 blood, 3 stun with his 3 claw attacks out of the 5 getting through. John had 3 defense dice, but it didn't do enough. John has 7 endurance though, so he's on 1 left. He's hurting, but he was not taken down, not knocked out, not knocked over. He managed to defend the Titan, but it might cost him. So we'll be back with recovery and recap for Battle Round 1. So at the end of Battle Round 1, the only victory points gained were by Joker's crew for landing the first punch of the match. So it only puts them 1 victory point up, but obviously a lot of damage got done to John. Catwoman got 1 damage and she only has 5 endurance. That's kind of to balance out how fantastic her defense is. At the raise the plan phase for Battle Round 2 is normally when Poison Ivy's plants pop up, but they're already done now just because there's nothing to interrupt them. So the spitting one is there, and the melee one is popped up there. Did I already say John didn't recover his stun? I think I did. Or if I didn't, I have now. Anyway, it's on to Battle Round 2, so let's see who's getting first. The Sirens are definitely hoping it's them, I think. Let's see. It is indeed the Gotham City Sirens. So to get Battle Round 2 started proper, forgot to mention in the Raise the Plan phase that Joker has used his once per game They're Cheap, which means any guns fired this turn do not expend ammunition, which is pretty powerful. So after a lot of umming and ahhing, the Gotham City Sirens decided to act, because there were so many choice targets, not that there was a problem, to activate Arkham Guard 3 to shoot at Killer Croc, because Killer Croc is illuminated by a lamppost, so therefore the 12-inch line of sight rule doesn't apply. He did get a ping from the Batmobile. All in all, 1 hit got through, 3 blood damage. He lost a defense counter as a result because he has sturdy, so he loses a counter per 3 damage rather than 2. And that's it. So now it's over to Joker to see what they do for their first activation. Something terrible, no doubt. High Security Henchman activated next. He unleashed 6 attacks into Catwoman and didn't get a single 5, so no hits there, and he's only sharp, not handy, so no rerolls on the hit rolls. He then used his basic movement to get into base to base with Harley. That's purely to stop her firing her guns on her activation, so smart move there I think, but disastrous on the hit rolls. So many 4s and 2s for whatever reason. So back over to the Gotham City Sirens. Poison Ivy activated and she retreated all the way into base to base with Killer Croc. She used Mortal Kiss for 2 special counters. She initiated a grab attempt for a 3rd special counter, leaving her with 2 attacks left after using the rest of her movement. A hit, but then it comes down to, for the Mortal Kiss to insta-kill, she has to deal damage and her strength is 5+, so she rolled, got a 4 and a 3, so Killer Croc has resisted the urge to kiss Poison Ivy and be insta-killed by her. Seemed like that was the best bet on dealing with him. It has failed, and now that might be a mistake, but it was worth a shot. Over to Joker's crew. Joker's next activation was Hobo Clown, and he just moved a little bit into base to base with the riddle that belongs to the Gotham City Sirens. Activated it, got a 6, it becomes a 5 because it's not their crew's objective, but that's still 2 victory points, and that riddle is gone. So that's pretty bad for the Sirens. Bet they regret giving so much leeway to the Joker's crew. Back over to them now though to see what happens. John Diggle activated and tried to taser Killer Croc, but Killer Croc used 1 defense dice to get rid of the 1 hit that got through. Then he used his basic movement to retreat to the ammo, basically making Killer Croc have to choose between claiming the Titan, killing Diggle, or potentially really badly hurting Poison Ivy. We'll see what happens. Carlo Grotti activated, shot his pistol, and remember he's not using ammunition this turn thanks to their cheap, into the closest Poison Ivy plant, did 1 blood, 1 stun from a hit getting through, then just moved slightly just so he would have cover on the off chance the Arkham Guard shoots at him before he gets a chance to activate again next turn. Back over to the Gotham City Sirens. So as a retaliation, the Nomming plant activated, and they have a 4-inch threat bubble if you haven't seen them be used before, so they can attack out of base to base rather, even with a physical attack. Only managed to get 1 hit through without the crit, which would have paralysed, so it's just 1 blood to Carlo, and then back over to Joker. So the next activate was Chuckles, and Chuckles isn't actually the clown that's smiling. Bizarrely, it's the one that's frowning, but whatever. I feel like those clowns were actually just mislabeled on their name tags. So anyway, the one that's... Is this the frowning one? I think this is the frowning one. So this is Chuckles. He activated, fired his automatic pistol, which is again for free this turn, into the plant, did a staggering 8 blood, which kills it. Plants just give up 1 victory point flat when they die, regardless of any other modifiers, so that plant's now gone for 1 victory point. He then just moved up slightly next to Carlo, and that's it. The Spike Shot plant activated next, which is this one here, spat at Hobo Clown. Of his 2 attacks, only 1 got through for 1 blood, 1 stun. That does put Hobo Clown on half health though, but other than that, wasn't able to do anything. Back over to Joker again. Joker himself activated, he moved up a little bit, then shot just rate of fire 1 at the Spitter plant with his, I think it's just called Joker's gun or something. Either way, it didn't land a hit, it rolled a 1, so did nothing there. About time some bad luck befell the Joker's crew, I suppose. Back over to the Sirens. Catwoman activated next, and from where she started, she used 2 attacks with her whip, which has reach, so she could reach him, to attack High Security Henchman down there. She's only wounding on 5s though, so she failed to do anything. She then moved... Let me pull back out, over to the riddle here, out of 2 inches of that, so her next activation will not come at a potential poison effect from the Joker gas. She solved the riddle with a 5, so that's 2 victory points, and that puts the Sirens on the board. Grumpy the Clown activated next, and he was just out of 8 inches required to be able to just shoot at Catwoman from where he was. It was literally like 1 or 2 millimeters out. It was measured and remeasured many times. So anyway, he decided to move next to these chemicals. He's barely, also millimeters out of distance of the Joker gas canister there. Fired rate of fire 1 at Catwoman and didn't get through her defense 5, so the hit failed. Harley activated next, and she has Unpredictable, which lets her use her special counters as wild cards. She can spend them as anything else she wants, and it specifically says it does not count towards the total she's allowed, so presumably that means she converts them to attack. If she already has maxed out her attack, which is 3, that gives her 6 attacks. So it seems like that's the way it works. So that's the way we're running it. She unleashed 6 attacks with her reinforced bat, did exceptionally well on the attacks, did a staggering 8 stun to High Security Henchman and took him out in 1 round of combat. He has 8 endurance, he is knocked out. That's a henchman knocked out, he'll obviously have the chance to get back up, because it wasn't blood damage. She then had nothing left, so she just used her base movement distance to get to base with the sewer grating, and that is it. So to quickly knock out the final two activations of Battle Round 2, Gustafsson activated, shot at the spitting plant from where he stood. One hit got through for 3 blood, it's got 2 endurance left. He then moved into base to base with his chemicals to contest it, out of range of the Joker gas canister potentially hurting him. Then to end the turn, Killer Croc activated, decided to try and take out the leader, unleashed all his attacks, all 5, onto Poison Ivy. 2 got through for 2 stun, 2 blood. He then just moved and is claiming the Titan for the end of the turn. So we'll be back with recovery and recap. So at the end of Battle Round 2, the Gotham City Sirens got on the board by taking out a henchman for 1 victory point. They solved a riddle for 2 victory points as well. Joker's crew though, they killed a plant for a victory point. Killer Croc secured the Titan this turn for 2 victory points. And they also solved a riddle this turn for 2 victory points. So they're still out ahead. In terms of recovery, Poison Ivy recovered a stun. John Diggle did not, neither did Hobo Clown. And High Security Henchman rolled 11, so he did not wake up either. So he is down and out for another round. So with that, let's see who is going to be going first in Battle Round 3, the halfway mark. It's going to be Joker's crew. That's potentially nasty. To get Battle Round 3 started, Killer Croc decided to try and go for the kill on John, moved into base to base with the ammo, and John unleashed his 5 attacks, did 2 blood, 2 stun from the 2 that got through. He's knocked out, that's not enough to kill him, that gives him 5 blood on his card, so he's got 2 endurance left. So he is knocked out, he has a chance to get up, but obviously that is a henchman down for a victory point. So the first activation for the Gotham City Sirens this turn, perhaps sensing that his demise was soon, was the spitting plant. It spat into Hobo Clan again, one hit got through anyway, for 1 blood, 1 stun, enough to knock him out. 2 blood on him in total though, so he's not dead, but that is a henchman knocked out for another victory point for them. Grumpy the Clown activated next. He stayed still to contest the Ace Chemicals and just shot at Catwoman again with his full rate of fire. She expended 1 movement counter to attempt to dodge the 1 hit that actually landed. She failed because she rolled a 6, and the wound roll thankfully was then failed with a 1. So just a scratch means she took 1 stun damage from that. The mind controlled Arkham Guard activated next. He stayed still. He shot his last load of ammunition at Carlo. The car allowed him pings, which negated 1 of the hits. 1 got through though for 3 blood, leaving Carlo on 1 HP, and then he had nothing left, so he's just standing there. So Carlo activated next, and thanks to being wounded he couldn't do much, so he just stayed still and shot. He shot at the spitter plant, 1 bullet got hit, and did 1 blood, 1 stun, which normally would equal a knockout because he's only got 3 or 4 blood on him out of his... 4 blood out of 5 endurance, but when plants get knocked out they're classed as a casualty, so the plant is removed and that is 1 victory point. Catwoman was activated next, and as you can see she's moved up there. That does mean on her next activation she'll have to do, I think it's an agility test, otherwise she gets 1 poison from the gas canister there, but we'll worry about that at the time. She unleashed 3 whip attacks into Grumpy, I've forgotten which clone it is already. Either way, 1 got through for a blood and a stun, plus the crit equaled an additional stun. He's got 2 endurance remaining, but he is contesting the Ace Chemicals, so she is not currently claiming it. Chuckles activated next and shot his machine pistol again. Now usually you can only fire that once, but remember last time when he fired it, their cheap was in effect, so that was free. He shot, he rolled fantastically, did full possible damage with the 4 shots it has, and did 8 damage to Arkham Guard, Arkham Guard 3 I think it is. Either way he is dead, so that's 2 victory points, 1 for a knockout, 1 for casualty. That's pretty bad. Poison Ivy activated. She moved into base to base with Killer Croc, once again tried to mortal kiss him and once again failed, which is very worrying for them, I would imagine. So she is touching base to base though, so the ammo is not counted as being claimed, so she is denying 3 victory points, but that is pretty disastrous. It's in total she's had what? She only got 1 attack through there and 2 in the first turn, so that's 3 attempts to roll a 5+ to basically insta-kill Killer Croc. It's failed every time. So now, let's see, Gustaf and Joker still have to go for the Joker crew, and then it's just Harley to end off for the Sirens. So we're going to quickly go over the remaining activations for Battle Round 3. Joker moved back and shot rate of fire 1 at Catwoman and missed. Then Harley Quinn travelled through the sewers, popped up next to the Joker, and to end off, Gustaf activated, shot at Harley, only 1 hit got through out of the 5 he attempted, for 1 blood to her. And that takes us to rest and recovery for Battle Round 3. So as we go over that turn, I think the Gotham City Sirens are learning what hubris is. In that turn, the Sirens knocked out another henchman for 1 victory point. The Joker crew, however, killed a henchman for 2 total. They took out the other plant for 1 total. The ammo is contested thanks to Poison Ivy being in base-to-base with Killer Croc, and that's it. But in terms of recoveries, everybody who was knocked out woke up. So High Security Henchman, Hobo Clown, who rolled a 2 and a 1, he needed a 4 or under, and John Diggle, they've all woken up. So they'll all get activations unless somebody else takes them out in the next battle round. No stun recovery on Poison Ivy, no stun recovery on Grumpy. Catwoman recovered the stun on her, so she's just got 1 blood on her now. So, it is more likely to be the Gotham City Sirens as we go into battle round 4. It is not looking good for them, the point gap is increasing steadily, but it is them going first next. So to get battle round 4 started, Poison Ivy has finally succeeded in landing a kiss, a mortal kiss, on Killer Croc, and has insta-killed him, removed him as a casualty for 4 victory points in total, I think. You can just imagine she spent 3 turns just like running in circles while he's running away from her, just not wanting to get seduced. But finally she found her mark. She then moved over to the Sir Grey just using base movement. She's an acrobat, so it's 5 inches. And that's it. Over to Joker. Joker activated first for his crew. He slashed at Harley with 4 knife attacks. 1 got through for 1 blood. Got the knockdown as well though, so she's on the ground. He then kind of retreated a little bit over here. He didn't have enough to get to the medical there. Staying over this side of the table for some amazing damage, Harley stood up. She shot her once per game twin guns, and presumably you don't go down to rate of fire for standing up, because if so then this wouldn't have happened. She shot her full rate of fire, it's 4, once per game. All of them hit, all of them got through, and the crit result, resulting in 8 blood damage and 1 stun on poor Gustafsson, who is a very dead, as we say. Harley then retreated into base-to-base with the medical. This could be the start of a shift in the points. 2 quick activations to cover because they were just movement. Carlo has moved back. I think he still has 1 shot left. He definitely doesn't, but I think Carlo has 1 shot left. Either way, he moved there. And then for the Gotham City Sirens to burn a turn, John activated and stood up because he had no counters left to do literally anything else. So it's back over to Joker now, who still has High Security, Hobo Clown, and Grumpy in base-to-base with Catwoman to go. So we're just going to go over the last few activations of that very decisive, potentially swinging turn. So it was Joker's activation, Hobo Clown stood up, moved next to Sir Grey. A pass was used because the Gotham City Sirens were at a disadvantage of 2 when the turn started. So High Security Henchman stood up, moved next to Sir Grey, ended activation. Second pass was used. So then Grumpy, who was in base-to-base with Catwoman, had to go. His pistol was light though, so he can shoot it at close range, I think. Either way, he attacked, did no damage. Catwoman activated to end the turn. She used her whip on him, did 2 blood, 2 stun, knocking him out, and resulting in her claiming the Ace Chemicals. Now he has expendable, I believe, so that means he gives no points unless he's removed as a casualty. But we'll cover that in detail in Recovery and Recap. So that had been a super interesting turn with Poison Ivy killing Killer Croc for 4 victory points. Ace Chemicals is giving the Gotham City Sirens 1 victory point, the medical is giving them 3. The henchman that got knocked out does indeed have expendable. He has to be removed as a casualty to give up a victory point, so he's giving none currently. In terms of Joker's crew though, what did they do this turn? Did they do anything this turn? I don't think they did. That's the first bad turn Joker's had, although blood damage has still been getting dished out, so people are getting low. In terms of recoveries and whatnot, the expendable Joker henchman is still knocked out. High Security Henchman recovered a stun. John Diggle recovered the 1 stun he had on him, so he's got 5 blood on his card now. Poison Ivy did not recover her stun, and I think that's it. Hobo Clown did not recover a stun on him either, so he's still got just the 1 and then 2 blood damage. So it might be all to play for now. The scores are relatively close. Let's see who's getting first activation in the penultimate battle round. It is the Gotham City Sirens. So to get the penultimate battle round started, I don't remember if we covered his turn in the last activation. He has no ammo, he's just moving towards the Sir Grey. For this battle round, Catwoman activated. I've also been forgetting to mention she did 1 test on the Joker gas already. She did 1 on this turn as well. It's a willpower roll. She has passed both. She coup de grace the clown on the floor, killing him, so he gives up 1 victory point. That was very timely of her to do that because the first activation for Joker's crew was going to be Joker henchman bombing and blowing up that guy to potentially kill her. So she saved herself a potential damage, or potential 3 blood damage, which would have been very deadly. To kill that henchman, she moves slightly so she's out of the 2 inches. That henchman's gone, and she's still claiming the Ace Chemicals. So we've got a few activations to cover and some meandering happened. So it was Joker's activation. This clown, which is, I was going to say grumpy, but it's not because he's the one with the grumpy face, so he's Chuckles. He moved next to the sewer grating. A pass was used because the Gotham City Sirens had 2 passes again at the start of the turn. Hobo Clown activated and very slightly shifted, just to meander. The other pass was used, so Carlo moved up, shot his final bit of ammunition, rate of fire 1 at Harley, and missed. So now the Gotham City Sirens have to activate, and the reason they were meandering, incidentally, is because High Security Henchman is almost certainly wanting to come down here, but doesn't want to get killed as soon as he appears, so we'll see what happens. Pamela activated and basically just shuffled to the far side of a Titan, so it was back over to Joker's crew. Joker activated and he shot one of his remaining rounds with his Joker automatic gun, or whatever it's called, into Harley. 2 blood, 2 stun, knocked her out, so that's a sidekick knocked out, and denying the 3 medical points. He then moved into base to base with it to end the turn. That was important, what just happened there. So now it's over to John Diggle to end the turn for the Sirens, and then High Security Henchman for Joker. So the quick final 2 activations, John just burned his turn staying where he was, and as expected, High Security Henchman travelled through the sewers and ended right where you see him. Potentially very dangerous because he only has, well, he's down to 2 HP remaining, I think, or rather up 2 because he recovered a couple of stun. Either way, that's us on to recovery and recap for the penultimate turn. So this battle just keeps on going backwards and forwards thanks to the Joker's move at the end of his turn there. In terms of victory points gained, the Gotham City Sirens have 1 victory point for the Ace Chemicals and 1 victory point for taking out a expendable henchman who didn't give up any for being knocked out. Joker, on the other hand, they took a sidekick down, well, knocked her out, to be exact, for 2 victory points. She did not wake up either, so that is Harley basically done. Joker might try and kill her for another 2 victory points in the final turn, but she is not contributing anymore for this battle, which is devastating, potentially. Other than that, did they get anything else? They're not going for claims. It's just down to whether or not they can maybe snatch some scenario victory points at the end here, or whether or not High Security can do anything. We'll see. We know for a fact that Joker's getting first activation in the final turn, because his is the only token left in the bag. Oh, and in terms of recovery as well, Hobo Clown recovered 1 stun, and I believe that was it. On to the final turn. High Security Henchman got the final turn started. He moved into base to base with John Diggle, had 4 attacks, unleashed them, but only managed to get 1 through for 1 blood, leaving John on 1 HP, so he didn't get him, and he's probably going to die, but if he does live, he gets scenario points at the end of the game. So over to the Gotham City Sirens now, see what they can do. Somewhat hilariously, John Diggle activated. He had 1 counter left over in attack. He attacked with 1 taser hit, it got through for 2 stun, and has re-knocked out High Security Henchman. He's down and out. He will not get the scenario objective for being in the enemy's deployment because you have to be conscious and not a leader. So, down and out. Now that was a very Joker-esque activation as the man himself activated. He used Henchman Bomb for 2 special to cause High Security Henchman to explode, even though that kills him and gives up a victory point. Because he thought, just take out Diggle for the hell of it, because then that would be a victory point as well, so it would counter each other. It automatically hits, and then it's got strength 2+. The wound roll was a 1. So High Security Henchman exploded, and then John just kind of looked over and was like, what was that? But that's not all Joker did. He did do something useful with his turn. It wasn't just anarchy. He attempted coup de grace with his knife against Harley on the ground. He got 2 hits through for 2 blood, and he has killed her for another 2 victory points. So we're just going to swing around the board here and cover the last of the activations that matter for the game. Catwoman activated, the last Gotham City Siren standing, other than mind control. Well, no, wait, no, Pamela's still alive. What am I talking about? Either way, she has climbing claws, so she had everything in movement. She ran here, she clambered up the building and rested up there, which is inside the enemy deployment, and that's because the scenario will now give 3 victory points, and that was the most points she could earn this turn, because the Ace Chemicals would give 1. She could have taken out Carlo for 1 or 2, I can't remember if he's been knocked out already. No chance of taking out the Joker, and Joker is contesting the medical, so this was her best move. Then Hobo Clown just activated and moved because there's nothing for him to do. A pass was used, so Carlo just moved pointlessly because he has no ammo left to shoot at Catwoman anyway. That meant that Poison Ivy had to, another pass was used rather, which meant that Chuckles had to activate. He travelled through the sewers. It just came down to could Poison Ivy mortal kiss him. She attempted, she failed, and that takes us to the end. So for points gained in the final battle round, both sides managed to get the scenario of having someone who isn't the leader or knocked out in deployment zones. Catwoman for the Gotham City Sirens, and Chuckles for Joker's crew is just barely in, so that's 3 victory points each. The Joker crew took out Harley Quinn for 2 victory points, making her a casualty. And I think that was it in terms of other gains, because the medical was contested, the ammo and whatnot was contested. So yeah, and that takes us to the final scores. And we had to look through them multiple times to make sure this was right, but the final scores is 17 victory points to the Joker crew and 20 victory points to the Gotham City Sirens. They managed to win again, and it's hard to... It felt so much like Joker's crew was winning the entire thing. And then, near the end, points started to rack up, like, we've got the score written over here. Joker was doing a lot of blood damage and a lot of killing. Basically, if Killer Croc hadn't been insta-killed, it would have been an easy victory for Joker's crew, because he would have killed Diggle, he would have killed Poison Ivy, because he'd only taken, 3 damage out of 13 endurance. So, although to be fair, Harley Quinn, Poison Ivy was very unlucky with her mortal kisses there. She attempted 4 throughout the game and only 1 was successful on at least 2 attempts to get a 5+ each try. So once you do the hits, I mean. And she was attacking targets that are easy to hit, because defense 3 on Killer Croc and defense 3 on Chuckles as well, or Grumpy. So that was a weird one. Where did the City Sirens get their majority of their points? Well, they got 4 for taking out Killer Croc. The medical on that 1 turn gave them 3. They got 3 for the scenario at the end there, but that's countered by Joker getting it as well. It's more so that Joker denied them victory points rather than going for victory points. Of that, and also, yeah, they killed both the plants. The plants just give 1 victory point each. In terms of models that actually give up proper victory points, Harley Quinn and the Arkham Guard, and that's it. The plants giving up only 1 instead of a minimum of 2 for a standard henchman. It probably made a difference. The Joker gas, tried to use them, it's been a while. Still don't really see the use of them, because it's quite easy to pass the test you need to do. It's quite easy to work around the 2-inch threat bubble they have. That said, yeah, maybe there's something I'm missing. Gotham City Sirens suffered from not bringing loot, for sure. Also, it's worth pointing out that both Poison Ivy and Harley Quinn, it was stated as being that their priority objective was Ace Chemicals. No one had the medical, so it would have been an extra victory point if Harley had been after the medical. Going forwards, Joker gas, don't see the point in it. Honestly, I wouldn't take those. And Gotham City Sirens, they won, so whatever. But loot, just get Catwoman to run to the loot, pick it up, take it to a corner of the map, and score 2 victory points a turn. But still, no point giving advice to the team that won. So anyway, that was a fun one. That was super close. The turning point was Killer Croc. If someone's going to comment and say, oh, by the way, there's this rule that says Mortal Kiss won't work on free agents or models with so much endurance or whatever, then obviously that ruins the entire latter half of the game. I don't think that rule exists. We were very careful. I'm looking at the rules this very second of Mortal Kiss. You just have to successfully perform a grab. The only thing I was curious about, but we double checked this as well, was could a normal sized model grab a large sized model? And I couldn't see anything in the grab section that said that wasn't possible. Although it just occurred to me, maybe it says it in the large section. I'm going to check that, because I'm curious, because it feels like there should be some kind of counter there. See, oh yeah, it says a large model cannot be pushed, grabbed or knocked down in close combat except by attacks from models that are also large or huge. Does that count Mortal Kiss? We're going to read Mortal Kiss. Or rather, well, because it just says perform a successful grab to do the effects of Mortal Kiss, because you're not actually grabbing, you're kissing, but it uses the rules for grabbing. If this model successfully performs a grab attack against a non-vehicle model and damages the target, remove the target as a casualty. Oh, that's a difficult one. That's really difficult, because you could argue both sides. Because you can attempt to grab, and as long as the grab is successful, you move on to the next part of Mortal Kiss. The fact that you can't literally grab a large miniature as a normal sized miniature, it doesn't technically apply. Technically speaking, which is annoying. Could you attempt to do something even though the normal effect isn't possible in a given situation? Maybe this game does need a 3rd edition. Well, we're calling the score as it is, but that's up for debate for sure. We double checked the grab section, we didn't think to check the rules for large specifically, but as I say, even with that, it does say you can't grab them, but a Mortal Kiss isn't a grab, it just uses the rules for grab. I don't know. Going forward, we can call this one a draw, but the scores are as stated. Thank you very much for watching. Hopefully we'll have a less confusing one next time, and there will be a special match planned for Halloween, so look out for that at the end of the month. Thank you for watching. Sorry for the confusion. Oh, by all means debate it in the comments if you want to. See you next time. Ta-ta for now.